prepping Merchant Adventure to try playing again using modifications that I want to do because the game just doesn't work the way I read it, right? But before I get to that, I was looking at these guys, trying to figure out, okay, maybe if I sort them, I can use them properly. So this green is on the back of red. I think this is supposed to be one pirate, and this one on the back of this brownish color is supposed to be another. I can't tell them apart. And almost equivalent, these two, they are so close. So I am going to put little markers on the pirates we're not going to use. We're not going to use this one. We're not going to use this one. Now, unfortunately, that reduces the game to only 5 pirates, or 6 pirates. 5, 6, 6, 3. Oh wait, we got another red. Let's get rid of the red too. So 5 pirates in 6 players. One of the beauties that I saw about the game was that there were a lot of pirates. But honestly, if I was playing a 9-player game of this, there are only 8 pirates. So I guess it's okay. You know, one player will not be allowed to start a pirate. I'm going to modify as little as possible, to be honest. Which means, let's see, what are modifications that I came up with from the last one that I wanted to deal with? One of the major ones, all right, let's keep thinking. So, the biggest one is that I'm going to randomize when you get to take an action, and you only get to take one action. And then the next player gets to take an action. That way, the first player can't buy all the corporations at once. And conceivably, they could have done more. Conceivably, they could have grabbed ports. $10 for a port is tough. But they could have used the port to buy the shares and done all kind of crap there. 2. Okay, only players can buy pirates, that's fine, but pirates can't work unless you get $10 invested in it. Until $10 is invested in it, until you get either $10 of your own to throw in it and then you get all the money, or you and your buddies are able to combine up to $10, you can't play pirates. That prevents piracy from occurring right away, which, you know, historically, yeah, there were pirates, but it wasn't that golden age of piracy that you kind of see. I'm still real iffy about this idea of families who have, you know, investments in share companies, okay? Share companies didn't exist in the medieval era. They didn't exist early on in the in the early modern era. It really wasn't until the establishment of the stock exchanges that share companies became kind of a normal thing. But you could argue, yeah, but there were, you know, royal families would, or noble families would involve themselves with a rich merchant and buy shares in a merchant adventure, as it were. This is where the merchant adventures come from. They wouldn't buy shares in a corporation so much that was involved in you know, all kinds of different operations. They would buy shares in a particular endeavor, either shares in a single shipment or shares in you know, something like a colonization or something, with the hopes that it's going to make money over time. And similarly, canals and stuff like that were also shared out in the same sort of way. But it was really more of, you know, a partnership, but in a way, that works here. The thing that kind of doesn't work is the share price, but okay. You gotta say, hey, on the market, this has a certain value. I'm not quite sure what the share price has an effect on. Does value, so something restricts what you can pay out with certain things. I don't really recall most of that. I worked my way through the rules. We never got to any of it, and we worried just about, hey, what happens when pirates sink the only ship that the companies can afford? So we're going to do that. What am I going to do in terms of player order? Well, I can assign... Yeah, I'll assign a starting piece, and we're going to go... We're going to do the 18XX type thing. Well, most 18XXs, the 1830 style, where one person's the starting player and everybody else follows them, and that'll be randomly determined each turn who the starting player is. You could put a mechanism in like the guy with the lowest cash on hand or something like that, which might be more reasonable, but that's what we're going to go with. Just something very simple where I roll a die and randomize who it's going to be. You could certainly shuffle it up, use a pile of colored pieces and arrange them to indicate the ordering. I find that more difficult to deal with in solo play, but I find it more difficult to play and to deal with in either kind of play. But it does provide a more randomized presentation, which means we shall start the game. I think I've got all the money right and everything. Tribute, nobody's going to pay money. Oh, I haven't rolled the ports. Part of me says I should randomize the ports completely, but there's a lot of stuff in this game that is kind of like, you do something in a certain order and it kind of unbalances, like the probabilities are not balanced. It feels as though that's intentional. And I can come up with some hand-wavy arguments why the ports might be. It's a little harder to make that argument about, where fines are and what the storms do and stuff like that. But it feels like it was so intentional that I just don't know what to do. So I think it was evens. They get placed. So there's the green port. There's the yellow port. We're going to end up with the same setup, aren't we? Yeah. All right. Perfect. Okay, nobody's going to pay tribute to protect a port. Their mainland power, we make the normal roll 3. There's no activity for that. Money lenders, nobody's got any money in the money lenders. It's on the players. We're going to start from here just because, hey, it's the first turn of the game. I got to pick, somebody. All right. What are the different things I can invest in and what are their values? Well, I can invest in a port. That's expensive. I can invest in pirate shares. That's expensive. It's $10 right up front. I can invest in shares of a company. Same as before. I need to get money into the company. Now, I don't really want to be responsible for a loan myself. I'd rather have the loan in the company's hands. So let's see what I have to pay for a company. So shares are only $1 each at the beginning of the game because they have nothing in hand. Now, I can pay more though, right? Let's see. Not actually sure about that. A company can be started by an entity with at least one share. This can be done with the family controls or port's treasury. Choose a company treasurer and place the remaining. Okay. A player can only start one company per turn regardless of the entity. Okay, so that prevents the idiocy. But I still think there's going to be problems if I played it with the other rules with the pirate shares. I was looking for this, but honestly, when you're dealing with a series of notes rather than, an organized rule book, it is even easier to miss something like that. Oh, something else I wanted to point out that I find troublesome about GameCrafter stuff. So people publish, it depends on, how you're doing things. But don't just publish a Word document or something like that, which is what it appears to be here. That doesn't work very well. It's worth getting yourself, some kind of layout software and putting that into play. Because what you got here, and you can do this with Word too, but what you've got is this long stretch of text that's hard to read and understand. Okay, obviously with notes, this is a different situation than usual. But if you're writing a real rule book, don't write it like this. Don't have it published like this. Going across the whole page means that your vision is usually limited to something like this, at least for me. But I can capture several lines at once. This is why newspapers use columns, right? A little bit of white space, and then the next column. At least 2 columns for a normal-sized page. Anything that stretches this far, you're actually stuck to skimming along rather than being able to capture, a column width of information where you can capture maybe 2 to 3 times as fast for reading as you can when you're reading across a long page. This may be why I actually prefer paperbacks to hardbound books, because hardbound books are larger, and then you can't really read as quickly because you've got to make your way across a larger amount of space to get the same sentence degree. Anyway, obviously something like a newspaper is there's a reason why these things are designed the way they are. And you'll see most professional game companies put things out not in this long format because it is just harder to read. And if you look at school textbooks and stuff, again, they use column print. It's really an important concept. Okay, so what was worded here, player can only start 1 company per turn regardless of of entity being controlled. That would have prevented the idiocy that I saw at the first turn of the game. The idiocy of player 1 buying a corporation or company, and that company buying all the other companies and taking everyone out of the game. However, I think these other facets are going to help as well. So, I tried to play the rules as written. It was the rules as read. Okay. Let's see what we can get. So, I'm trying to think of any reason that I would want to buy more than 1 share for a coin. And I'm not sure that I would pay more than a coin. I'm not sure I'm allowed to pay different. So a company, there's no area where it talks about how shares are spent. They give a value of a share. Starting at minimum share value is 1. Oh, I could sell for less than half the value or buy for more than twice their value. So conceivably, I could spend $1 and I guess buy 2 shares. That might be worth it. Simply to give me a little bit more room to play with and a couple of shares. So let's do that. Let's spend $5, or let's spend $1. Give it to the company treasury and grab 2 shares of that company. We've started that company. Now here, in the rules as written, I would immediately get to operate that company. But instead, I've taken my action. And I think this is gonna open things up a little better. Now, what would be the other? Well, it doesn't really make too much difference because I'll be able to build a boat, and nobody's going to be able to fuck with it particularly. So it's really not that big a deal. So I buy those 2 shares, and I am done. And we go to the next player. Now, I don't want everybody doing the same exact thing. So, however, I think companies are the best way to get things. But this guy is only going to spend $1. Well, the same as the other guy, but he's only going to buy 1 share. What does that allow him to do? Well, that gives him more of a reserve of cash in his company. Wow. Yeah. I don't know how much this mixing up the order is going to make as a difference in the game. And it may be an added complication that I don't really need. Third player, again, I think companies are the way to go. I don't like the idea of putting all my money into a company, though. Bad things could happen very easily. In fact, bad things are almost guaranteed to happen if all 5 companies start, because there are only 4 harbors. So somebody is going to be placing a vessel on top of someone else if everybody buys a company. However, do I want more than one? I don't know. I don't think that putting more than $1 in is a good idea. I don't really gain much from it. The only money that's gained is really out of here. Now, is there a reason I'd want to start a port at this point? Not really, because everything players can do, they can do off of one of the uncontrolled ports until some stuff starts shipping. So, since I'm going third, well, I'll try a slightly different process. I will buy 2 shares, but I'll pay $1 each for them. That's third player. Fourth player over here, I think that first deal is actually the best deal. That's why I thought of it first. So I'm going to buy 2 shares for $1 and get the purple company. Now, what I was intending to do was to move the ownership pieces over to players. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Okay, let's go over here. So he would be buying, he could buy the 5th company. The 5th company is going to be coming in and have to fight another company. I don't know if I want to do that. It's a 50-50 chance I lose my investment. But I choose not to. I'm going to say, hey, player 6, we're both going to be in a shitty position. How about we each put $5 into a pirate? Remember, I'm not allowing pirates to even start unless they get their $5 each. He says, no, I don't want to do that yet. Okay. $10 could give me a value in a port. What would throwing a bunch of money into a company do? Well, that would put me more at risk. I could, however, say, okay, that's fine. You don't want to do that? You know what I want to do? I'm going take a loan, and we're going to let the moneylenders work the same way. So I get $15 of debt and $10 here. And I'm not going to make taking a loan be an action. All right, it's something that you facilitate your other actions with. I'm going to spend $10 for player 4 to get themselves a pirate. Now, does that place the pirate? Again, this is where, yeah, now I'm kind of fiddling with the order of things too much. Like, I feel like I've just built a pirate by doing this. I didn't really want to do that. So you know what? We're going to back up, and we're going to try to play the game as intended just with this random ordering at the beginning of each turn. So each player gets to do their entire turn first. So what did blue do? All right. We'll hold off on this because those decisions are going to still remain. Blue would have bought, and I know I'm just making everything fucking confusing by doing it this way. Blue would have then taken their operation, take on a $15 debt so that they could buy a blue ship. And where do I want to put that ship? I want to put it kind of towards the center, because the pirates can make money by sailing around in the empty seas and trying to capture stuff that's not me. White player, I gotta pretty much do the same thing. There really isn't a lot of option here. So we also will take out a full debt. That gets them down to $2. It's going to run out, and this guy's not going to have a loan available, which is problematic. But maybe he can buy an investment in something. The interesting thing is, the later you go, you get some reactive capability if everybody has to take their whole turn. So if this ship is sunk, I won't buy that company, right? I may make a deal with some other company. All right, so this is the white company I bought. And I'll buy a ship, and I don't want to put it with the other ship, but I'll put it there. And then the orange company, really the same thing. We're not seeing. They get $10, which I will immediately use to build myself a ship. Well, 4 of the 5 companies work okay. The purple company, same deal. And I think we're out of money on the moneylender once we're done with that pirate. Grab this. He places here. The pirate has just taken out his loan and grabbed a pirate. He has to put it in one of the ports. Who does he want to hit? It's really a random thing, but this is the most appealing because I got a couple empty spaces. Again, I'm saying harbors aren't active. So I go in there, that immediately throws me into a battle, and the pirate gets 2 dice to the ship's 1. Now this could pretty much wipe a player out in terms of value. Especially the guy who took money on his own hands to buy that pirate for $10. The other hand though, you'd just be paying $1 grabbing a pirate, and you could start hunting these ships down really effectively, and I don't think the companies work very well under that. So I get 8 to 4. Normally that would be double, that would be capture. It's not. We made the rule that ships are actually sunk, so purple is down a ship. Yeah, they've got their loan. Okay. Which means that company is pretty much stripped bare unless people throw a lot of cash into it. Okay. That will be his entire turn, basically. So now we come on, and basically I've gotten rid of the pulsing of turns, is what's happened. Instead, I rolled that back. I think that change is just going to confuse me too much. So now I'm on the 6th player. The 6th player could buy a company. There is still one available, and go for a 50-50 shot at knocking someone out. However, there's no money left in the moneylenders, so I can't make any money off that. I could talk to some of these other players who have an advantage. Now remember, this guy gave me an option to buy into his pirate ship. I didn't take it, so it's my own fault. But I did force him to take a big loan, which may make up for the fact that he got that, early pirate ship. What could I do? I could buy me a port. If I buy a port, then I'm able to negotiate better deals on sales than everyone else has. That's one opportunity that I have available. Another is I can't buy a port. It takes $10 to get the prestige in a port, and there's no moneylender money. So the only thing I could do is invest in someone else's company. I don't think that's wise at this point, especially with this company. So I'm going to hold off. So no storms happen, no factories happen, and we're on the next turn. I'm going to randomize who the first player is for the next turn, and I think we're going to get to see something that works a little better. But I'm not sure how much of it is me tinkering and how much of it is, just noticing that rule. Although I do think that allowing pirates to start at $1 is really, really painful. Again, I'm not sure that's intended because they're listed at $10 here. All right, so player 3 will be going first this time. And we'll continue in that, counterclockwise fashion that we were working. What is player 3 going to do? Well, I have an orange ship. I'm allowed to move a space. That's all I'm able to do. These are all available. I don't really have a way to flip the pirate ship over. Not sure what those big boats over there are for now. Don't have an answer to that. Why they were sent. It may be that they were sent because he didn't think these existed. Those are actually really perfect for it. So I really don't know. Okay, so orange gets to go first. I would rather not collide with anyone, so I'm going to try to go into that space. And what do I roll? I roll a 10-sider. On a 1, bad things happen, and I may lose the game. 8, I found a water tile, and I've gone into it. Now, unlike pirates, I can't make money off fishing or whatever the hell it is. I'm not really sure that it makes sense to flip those over. And we're going to have to change batteries. Was there anything else I want to do in my turn? I have some bucks, not a lot. Oh, you know what? I forgot to start the turn properly. So excited to try to play the game where it doesn't look absolutely broken. So nobody was going to play tribute. Mainland power, 3 or more. Okay, mainland power is attacking someone. They have a base value of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to hit the yellow port. That's going to be $3 off the yellow treasury. That goes to 7, and $3 go into here, which brings that to 28. Moneylenders. People had to pay the moneylenders. Each of these companies is going to pay $1 to the moneylenders. So, and they must do this. They can't try to withhold, which, there's not much you can do. You can only take out $10 at a time, and you end up owing 15 due to that. This guy has $2. He pays the moneylenders, but he only has to pay 1. And he'd rather keep $1 kicking around. I'm not sure why. It might turn out that he needs that extra $1 in the moneylender's hands. And this guy gets all $4 back. And is back 1. We'll see if that pirate works out as a good deal. The moneylenders have $5 now, which is where they started. I got to swap batteries, and then we'll get back to him and what else he might be doing in his turn. And if the first player was always first, they'd have this option, and everybody else would be kind of falling behind in terms of this extra option. Orange can't use the orange company to leverage more loans. He's got at least $10 of loans, which means he can't take out any more loans with that company. Which might be a reason why, this guy is real close to being able to trim his loans over. Orange Company, though, or the guy who owns the Orange Company, could leverage a loan on his own and buy himself a port to give himself special deals. That doesn't sound like a terrible idea. Except that, he's got his own loan. I spend $10 to buy myself a prestige level, and let's go for the closest of my ports. Let's get the green port. And so now I'm going to start owing money of my own as well. But I've got an interest in the green port, which is of some interest. This is iffy though, right? Like, I've just spent a whole bunch of money to become magistrate of the port. But if I don't make money quicker than other people, somebody could spend 20 and take that port over. Of course, there are 2 other ports which might be more valuable. That money does not go into the port, if I'm correct. I don't think it says here. Actually, there's no price there. So I've got to find the list of, notes on ports. Should not go to the port's treasury. Yeah. I'm basically, not improving the port in any way, not its defenses or anything. I'm just bribing someone. Someone who, yeah. Okay. So we'll be going to the second person who owns the purple company here. Well, the purple company is up Schitt's Creek at this point. Big loan out and not enough money to operate. And I don't know what to do, right? I could start another company, though. And that might be my best move. That's something nobody else did. But now there's space to start one without starting a war. I don't have to take out a loan personally, which is important. I've got a share in some loser here. But I'm going to spend $1 into the black company. I'm going to grab 2 shares of that, since that's what I tried with the purple company. And I may be able to, sell those purple company shares over to the black company or something like that if it starts making money, in order to raid more money from the company treasury. So they're not a total loss, but they're not good. And now with the black company, I take out my loan, reducing this, buy a ship, there. Don't think there's anything else I want to do. Now, I could take out a loan and buy prestige at a port as well, and other people could have done this on the first turn. There's nothing that prevents you from taking both a port and a shipping company at the same time. The reason I didn't do it on the first turn, other than not thinking of it, and also I was only doing 1 action per player on that first turn, rather than the actual restriction, which is you're not allowed to buy more than 1 company in 1 turn. Is that how it's... You can only start 1 company per turn. And you can only start 1 pirate over the course of the game, which does mean that pirates are a limited commodity, in the sense that if pirates are destroyed, there's going to be... people will still have shares in them, and nothing can be done with it, which is kind of neat. There's a limited amount of piracy in the game, and then piracy dies off, I think. Well, unless piracy becomes powerful. So we'll see. Oh, I have the green port. What the hell? Let's look at this guy. He bought the green port. There's a pile of money in the green port. Before this guy goes, I could have spent $10 to build a green boat. That would make the green port poor. It would also make it not a target, which is kind of interesting. I'll leave things as they are. This guy bought the black ship. He could buy himself another port interest. And there's kind of a, well, I got off to a shit start. Maybe. No, he's not going to. But I actually think that this is one of the things where this is why the pulsing of actions may make sense. Is, on the first turn of the game, the first player can buy a company and a port by taking out loans. He pays $1 for the company share. That takes out a loan with no collateral or anything, which seems goofy and unlikely. But because given that time period, you usually had collateral for any kind of loan. Takes out a loan on just his good name when he's done nothing, and the company's just started, and builds a boat, and then takes out a further loan to bribe a port, grabs both of them right off the bat. Might build himself a warship with the port. Now, if we look at the combat, you may not want to do that, but that would allow you to cover 2 harbors. You may not want to do that because I don't think the warship, I think the warship fights warships. Fights your own ship if you put it there. Watercraft can attack others that are adjacent, but there's something about placing boats. Might be in ports, might not. Oh, you can steal money from the port. I don't want to steal money from my port. So stealing money for the port, you can take $1 with a 10% chance of losing your prestige. That seems really dumb. Your prestige costs you $10. If you really, really need that $1, sure. You could take more than $1 and you increase the chance heavily. Bonds, I think they're bought in the entity's turn, that in the player who owns the entity that's doing the buying's turn. I'm trying to look for the boats, though. There was something about when you build a boat, combat happens. All right, I'm gonna have to search through all these notes. Luckily, there's not a lot of pages but they are hard to detect things. Again, partly because of that, partly because it all looks the same. Found it. There's a whole section. Companies can create vessels and colonists, ports can create warships, and families can create pirates. If a vessel or warship is created, it must be placed in a harbor next to where it's created. If a watercraft is created on a port whose harbors are occupied, a battle will ensue. Period. The end. Now, so yeah, if I built a warship to try to protect my merchant, it would shoot my merchant, which is not optimal, obviously. Again, is that intentional? Probably not. But it seems like only one ship of each type can be in a space is kind of the thing. If that's the case, that should be spelled out. But again, this is not anything like a polished stage. So I was on this guy. He bought his black ship, and he was thinking, do I want to buy the yellow port? Yeah, because I'm going to be a dick. I'm going to spend 15 of this to get 10. I get a prestige marker now. So, yeah, I guess it's similar. So what I was going to say is you have your shares here, but what's not clear is who owns what. It's not easy to detect. And this is why I wanted to move things, because it could be possible somebody else ends up with 2 shares of that, and you really do have to, move the mats at that point. But the other thing is the prestige markers here. So there's nothing over on the item itself that says who controls it. So I think I'm going to move things now because that's going to be necessary later on. And I may shift this up as well before things get too messy. Now it's changed significantly. Here are holdings that each player has. This guy has a port in 2 companies. I haven't fully optimized my port yet. Now I bought the port that took a hit already, but that's important to me in order to cover something. And so that port is going to, I already exchanged that to get that correct. That port is going to also take out a loan because I don't have $10. and I spend port yellow to build a warship, and this is my means of protecting my black ship. By putting it there, there's immediately a fight. I don't know what happens if... Oh, if you capture, you get another warship. I guess they can be stacked together at that point. But this is why you can't capture when you're in the same space. Gotcha. So they don't end up stacked together. Okay, so port yellow is got a warship against a vessel. And a vessel versus a warship only gets 1 die. So we easily win, and we destroy the ship of the white company. Game over for this guy, I think. It's going to be harsh. It's going to be harsh. So you still have that weird sort of, I can chain all kind of stuff, and I'm beginning to think that, yeah, you know, 1 action per, but I feel like there's a whole lot else that needs to be in play here. Like, it just feels like it's too easy to just wipe something out by building a pirate or a warship and wipe somebody's holdings out of their company. And their companies are the only thing that can kind of make money on its own. That will get me, bought port yellow, we took out our loan, that'll get me to the pirate. Well, I could attack. I could attack here, or I could move here and take a 1 in 10. I'm going to go for the attack. I don't move. I roll a 3 to 1. That's enough to capture. Blue loses its shipping capability, and we get another pirate here of the same pirate company. Okay? Now, warships versus pirates get 2 dice. Pirates versus warships only get 1. So the pirates want to run away from that ship. Did I want to do anything else with this? Well, I have a few bucks, but there's not a whole hell of a lot that I can do with that. I could convince somebody, hey, you know, I'll buy some of your shares, but does that really help them? It's not going to be enough money to buy a ship. Later in the game, it may be possible that, say, the white player who has no ship and has a lot of debt might be willing to sell off his company in the hopes that his shares will be worth something to someone like this pirate who's doing well. But it seems like maybe the best thing to do in this game is nothing, or still invest in pirates. But I don't know, because they too can be wiped out very easily. Speaking of, the person who's winning the game hasn't done a damn thing. He has $5. He could build himself a pirate ship and pick on black here. He could buy the last port. He's got kind of this feeling of, am I playing the game? You know, somebody's going to come out ahead, and that person's probably going to be in okay shape. So, odds I'm going to buy something. Nah, I'm just going to keep doing nothing, because that seems like it's working pretty well for me. All right. So those are not all the players. Blue gets to go. Blue has, because we started here, Blue has a company with no value and 2 shares of that. He's got some bucks. So you want to try to recoup? I mean, unlike this guy, he's tried doing something. He's already behind the 8 ball. I haven't really hurt myself too bad there. That money that I have, there's still money for a money lender. I can take a chance with a pirate and try to wipe out more people's companies. We might end up in a position where none of the companies are worth anything, which is pretty close to what we ended up with before. And this is even with, hey, you got to come up with $10 for your pirates. It's just like there's something not working, and it's hard. Oh, hold on. I did not do his turn. All of his turn, did I? No, he built his black company this turn. Okay. And I'm like, why didn't the black thing move? Okay, so only one ship is moving, and it's trying to run away as quickly as it can. So, yeah, blue's gonna take out another loan. The moneylenders are going to be rich, but they're not, because nothing makes any money. The only thing that's got money is the home country. So in this case, I take a negative 15 on myself. 10 of that goes into putting player number 1 on one of these. And you know what you can see is, obviously your piracy works better if you only have to buy 1 share to fuck everybody over. But I'm going to put this here. That's an immediate roll to try to destroy black as a player. And he's got a lot of holdings, so... You know, I can't. Because... Yes, I can. Greenport. Somebody owns Greenport, right? They could refuse to allow me to do this. Greenport is owned by Orange Company. He doesn't particularly want to do this unless he can exact some sort of agreement, which he can't. Which means this pirate is not that great a deal. Now, he would like to build it, but... so we're going to reverse that whole position there. This goes back to a 2. And blue player gives back their money. They were not able to build a pirate. A pirate could still be bought over here, either with the agreement of yellow port, possibly by giving them money. But green doesn't want to give that money. He doesn't want to collect that money in his port, because that's a threat to his orange ship. And he just doesn't want that to happen. He's willing to let black get away. Yellow is certainly fine with allowing a pirate. You know, you want to go fight another pirate, or you want to fight my warship at bad odds? Sure. Doesn't seem like a good move. So blue is not doing anything for perhaps the game. They could put money into red port. Does that help them, though? Like, they could start wiping out the green pirates, but I don't know that that actually does them any good. And the cash and leverage that they have seems like a better idea. I gotta swap batteries again. We're gonna stop after this round around. So yeah, that puts me to player number 2, who currently has no ship in his company. Possibility of a port. One thing I could do is I could take out a loan and buy a bunch of shares of my company. That's one way to try to resurrect things still. But things are crowded here, so I don't think I want to do anything. I'll hold off. This loan isn't hurting me. It's just on the books because I'm out of cash, you know. So until I get 10 bucks over there to build a ship, there's no need to worry. So these guys aren't really interested in buying that port. That's going to use up whatever leverage they have to try to save their company and restart it. Going back to the moneylenders, hand in hand, hey, yeah, you know that company I own? I'm going to use that as leverage for another loan. All right. So that gets me there. There are no storms. There is no factory. The only thing I have to do is roll a die to see who's going to be the starting player next turn. I'm low on battery power, so, and plus my video game addiction is calling. So we're going to be back up here as the first player, and when I come back down. Still feels like it's going too silly, too stilted. Something needs to be fixed here. You know, one of the big things is there's this sharp shortage of resources available in terms of locations where you can put your ships down and whatnot. Now, we're not seeing a lot of collaboration, and that may be what is the only way to make the game work. But it's pretty damn easy to fuck up two collaborators as it is to fuck up a single person's company. So basically, I think the capability to fuck up a company is just too easy at the beginning of the game. And that can be done with either pirates or ports. You can basically take something out of the game that way. Anyway, we'll be back, see what's going on. There are going to be some players who get to do stuff, right? Now, one of the reasons you may not want to shake up the order of play that I'm beginning to see here, now it's possible, unlikely, but it's possible for the orange player to go after the black player, and then the black player, could take a revenge or an early strike on the orange player. I don't know how big a deal that is, but you wouldn't get that if you keep the same order fixed at all times. However, it feels like there's other things that you're stuck in, like always going last to the moneylenders, that not shaking things up is going to be more problematic. Although, maybe there's some possibility, maybe there's some counterbalancing factor that allows, all that information that you have late in the game to make up for not being able to go to the moneylenders. Because, we got 6 players, there's 5 moneylender bucks, right? You're not going to do anything. You can buy some shares or something in something. If you're lucky, somebody will offer you to let you play with them. Okay, so I got a couple of clarifications in email, PM. I didn't think to check BGG after the video was posted. One was obviously the situation, hey, you can only start one company per turn. The other had to do with pirates. Now, I've screwed something up there, which is you can only buy... No, here. So, you can only buy a pirate at a port harbor with permission of the magistrate. Ports without a magistrate will grant permission. The designer says no, they shouldn't. But I'm going to keep going with what I've got written. But I did have it right that he intended for all 10 shares to be sold before the pirate could operate. So that weakens them a great deal. It may also be that there's that the rules are not written correctly here. In which case, the pirates aren't going to get a chance to, launch this big attack on everybody. I've got the moneylender right. I've got the map correct. One other thing that he pointed out was he kind of saw this as more a Mediterranean environment with the... and that makes sense because, there was a great deal of merchant activity at that point. The problem with that is, of course, there shouldn't be any exploration in that. The map should be fixed if that's the case. So that's why I went with the New World type version. I still see this as more of a fantasy world because it doesn't quite fit anything, but... like with the storms being magical. And again, he says that's just a mechanism of convenience or something, considered a design for effect or whatever, but it feels weird to me, that's all. What I'd like to see is that ports and villages or whatever, and there goes my T, are improving due to the investments in them rather than, just at random happening. But if it's going to happen at random, I'm not really thrilled with the storms being the effect. One of the things is that I feel like storms should not stay on the board all game. But these are just minor quibbles. The big one is in the play side of things, which is really there's only 5 companies and up to 9 players, and yeah, they can coordinate a little bit, but one player can go it on their own and not allow anybody else to have shares in their stuff. So unless they're getting an advantage out of the share distribution setup and charging more money, and then they still keep control and whatever. They'll do it on their own. They're not gonna hand a later player a better deal. Maybe the game doesn't work in more than 5 people because of that, or you just accept that maybe you'll get lucky and you're behind the 8 ball to begin the game, and it is all okay. Okay, so my life has taken a turn, another break, basically, in terms of like, I thought I was doing pretty well for this weekend, but now I'm like, I don't know. Not in the beginning of the week. I don't even understand anymore. But like my sleep schedule got really weird. I mean, it's been really weird anyway. So let me try to figure out where I am, which is we've gotten through the start. I rolled, and this guy's going to be the starting player this turn. I do think that shakeup is of use. I don't know if it's necessary. I've discussed with the designer, and apparently I've got a rule set that he doesn't intend. Like that one rule about the pirates being able to be placed next to ports that don't have a player controlling them is not applicable, and that actually you can place them next to villages that no one can control a village, but you can't place them next to the major ports, the initial ports, unless someone controls that port. Now at this point, all but red port are controlled, so some kind of deal could be come to. Of course, the guy who owns the port doesn't really need a pirate. So he's got the option to build warships already, and so that fits more with the privateering type model. That's what we're going to follow for the rest of the game, but I'm going to keep this initial start. We're going to say the one guy who did build a pirate, whatever, but that allows for a ramp. Allowing pirates right off allows for a ramping up of the violence in a way that I don't think is good. Now, what's up with the Blue Company? Big debt, no ships. He's already screwed because his ship got destroyed, but it might have gotten destroyed by a port situation. And his personal money is not great. Is there anything that can help him? I don't know. But we got to go here. Tribute. Does anybody want to protect their port? Well, now we're in an interesting case because people own ports, and there is some risk. So green exists. And red, I think, right? No, yellow. Now, I don't remember how to do tribute because I've never done it. During tribute, you can give 1 coin to the mainland power on behalf of any port to assure that port won't be attacked during the current turn. That's a pretty decent payoff. But how do we have $10 on this port? That's what they start with. Interesting. And the other port? The other port had to take out a loan. Port yellow. So, paying $1, the chance of an attack is only 30%, right? It's only 3. I'd be 1 out of 3 because everybody's got cash on hand. So now it's like a third of that 30%, right? So now we're at like 10% chance. And if it happens, it's not going to be $10. It's at most going to be $7. So that buck is simply not worth it. I could figure out exact odds there of what we're talking. But we're not even talking, we're not talking about like I'd lose the 7. That's the worst case scenario. That's if there's a 7-point difference between the two. So the actual odds calculation is fairly complicated. I could do it, but so not going to pay tribute, and nobody else is in a position where they really want to. The other port here, hey, I got enough money to build myself a ship right off the bat for the $10 that I paid out of pocket. No mainland power takes place, no natives in place. Money lenders. All right. So the money lenders have to collect their money, and we start looking. So here's one that gets exchanged. And this is kind of an obnoxious mechanical action, right? The amount of coin changing, and this goes up to 2. This one is a pair of 3s. $3 left, 13. I'm at 3. Let me keep a die for that amount. That was that guy. This guy goes down to 14 and 2. Now you could pay more. Would you want to? Something we want to think about. Can't really think of why, except to clear out the cash. Well, there's 2 reasons. So this port yellow could clear out the cash that they have on hand, making themselves no longer a risk. And then, since their loan value would be less than 10, they could take out yet another loan, or increase their loan by $10, and they still would only owe $1 per round, and they wouldn't actually have to pay it because they wouldn't have. Well, they would because they'd have cash left, right? No, they wouldn't have any cash left. So that is an interesting idea. So this went up to 4, I think. So if I expend 7 here, that's 11, 13 in the money lenders. We still got another one coming, but I just spent 7. That puts me to -8. But I've cleared out any risk of the mainland power hitting me, and I'm now eligible for a loan, which is appealing. This goes to 1, -14. I just wanted to take care of that 1. This one has -14, but has nothing you can spend. So 3 and 1 gives me 4. And again, this would be a lot easier handling it with tracks a la, an after the Holocaust type of situation, I think. Now we go to players. We know who the first player is. When should you roll to determine that? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't decided yet if stable players make sense. It is actually something that, like the storms and whatnot, that seems a little weird, but although it unbalances the game, it may be able to be made up. So I did the randomization. I don't have a view. I kind of hate twisting what's the designer's obvious intent, especially since there's a lot of stuff that I don't know and I don't understand, and I can't make my arguments one way or another clearly for that. All right. So now he's sitting here. Having done nothing. There's a huge amount of money in the money lenders. They're going to be hard to beat if people keep taking out loans. But, you aim for the best place you can within that. But you've got to keep in mind that is an opponent, right? So if you can't beat that, you're now playing for second. You're not just playing to beat the other players. You're not playing for first place anymore, right? Okay. And same thing with the mainland power, although I don't think that has the capacity to grow. This is like exponential growth, basically. Unless people collapse. So what could blue do? What would blue do? The only thing I can see doing is buying myself a damn port. I'm calling him blue, but player one there. Buying a damn port. What is the good of that for me? Well, I mean, I'd be able to do pirates. I would be able to throw a warship out and fuck with those pirates, but I just don't have a means of gaining cash and getting that final port, getting the red port, which I would be borrowing my own money, grabbing a prestige. Someone else can take it from me because I have no source of income. And who is going to use it? Well, let's look at the other ports. Orange has a port available to them. So this is a player who's hooked up completely. Likewise, black has a port that's hooked up with him. I think the best thing I can do, and this would be the case with one of these players as well, is to buy that port. So we'll take out our loan. There's our negative 15. In personal money, we will buy a prestige at red port. I'll move my T so that I move this here. Red port is going to buy a ship using the entirety of its treasury. And again, I've gotten rid of the, hey, one action per pulse. The you can only buy one company prevents that really, really horrible situation from arising. I'm not going to clear yellow. I'm going to build it here. And as we know, pirates only get one die when faced with warships, whereas the warship gets 2. We get 4 to 6. The warship is sunk, and this is not good for him. The one thing that, before he had a clear opening to his port. He has nothing else he can do. That puts us down to player 2, who is the white company, also trashed. No opportunity for expansion. I could buy a prestige in something, but I will be in second place if I buy it into a port. I'm not allowed to buy a pirate anymore because we're following the intended rules. I think I'm screwed. I'll just pass. That puts me to orange. Orange has green port. Let's knock out the one remaining company. And again, normal vessels against warships are only going to have one die. They only ever have one die. The warship, of course, has 2 against anything other than a warship. The warship wins. The black company is destroyed. Again, it's not the way that, I envision this game going. So, like, one person is running a company. Everyone else is in kind of, they have companies, they have shells that don't really exist. So that was the green port. How the fuck do I get bonds? Because bonds might be the answer, right? Except nobody has money. You can offer bonds. They can be sold for a coin. Yeah, I don't think bonds are going to be the answer here. They might be if people coalesce in their agreement. So, like, let's say I buy 2 bonds at $50 each. Well, I've got a claim on that port if it ever gets money, but it doesn't have money. Right? It's got the capacity to borrow. How can I force that? So any bond holding entity can trade a bond in for coin if the issuer has any coin in their treasury. Yeah, I cannot force the bond to be redeemed. I can't force them to take out a loan to pay off their bond. So I could take a gamble on something like a port in terms of buying bonds in it. Can I buy bonds in ports? Yes. Okay. If the port wishes to issue that bond, and that may not be in anybody's interest, but this guy has nothing. He has no investments whatsoever and can't even buy a pirate until a village is found. So anyway, we're on the orange player here. He has one more thing he can do. I'm going to sail out this way. Let's find the exploration. It's a D10, I know that. And a 2 through 9 is water. Everything else, the 1 and the 0 are the specials. I just find me some more water. I'm not a pirate, so I can't fish. And I don't see anything else I can do with him. I'm kind of trying to get a grip on, hey, you know, what things am I doing? What things am I not doing? You know, I could throw more money into here and buy some shares, but that doesn't really help yet. It would just get eaten up to the moneylenders. Over here. So the purple company's gone. Over here. Port yellow has a warship. The black company's been wiped out. So I have 4 shares that are worthless. I have a big loan out that's going to start draining. But I have port yellow. I could go blow up Port Green. That doesn't seem wise. Let's hunt pirates because I can't think... I mean, I could go exploring, but that doesn't really help me. I don't actually move. I declare that I'm attacking the pirate. I will move into there if I win. I get 2 dice to 1. I get a 6, they get a 6. I don't remember what happens in terms of a tie. And I remember not knowing what happens anyway. So I got to find the combat area. Oh, no. There it is. Very hard to find things. Again, it's written like a set of notes rather than like a regular rule ship. If a piece defeats its opponent by more than twice... So here's one of the problems. It doesn't really say what defeat is. And it also doesn't say that the ship that things are destroyed if they're defeated, but I pretended to that. If an entity is able to attack. So yeah, you can't outflank on defense. It wouldn't have been the case here anyway. I think nothing happens and I use up my movement hunting those pirates. That's the best guess I have. That is pretty much all Port Yellow can do. These 2 are drained. I have a couple of bucks that, you know, again, I could release bonds or something to get those 2 bucks somewhere else. But the problem with those 2 bucks is this. Now, I do have enough money that I could have built myself another ship. So the advantage here was I had a fair chance of capturing this pirate, which is appealing. I have a huge loan, or I have a loan. Do I want a second ship? I think so. I think so. So this goes down to 12. We get 15 in loan, which puts us to a 23 loan for the 10 bucks to build yet another ship and I'll build a yellow ship here, take another shot at the pirate. Now, I don't get the flanking bonus. I don't know if I could in a placement. I don't think so. This time I win, but I'm not allowed to capture. So I kill a pirate and put that there. Okay. That moves things to him. He has, it appears, nothing. Here's part of the problem. I've got all my stuff positioned on these mats. The pirates are in their own little world. Now, this happens to be player 4. This records it, but it doesn't record it in a consistent manner with the rest of the game. So it's very, very difficult to determine. Now, yes, there's share controls and whatever, but whoever controls the given pirate ship. What could I do to fix this? I could cut these pirate strips out and use them next to things. I'm not going to do that, but that might be the better solution as a whole. If I had, you know, my wife may have a paper cutter. I might think about doing that if this gets too confusing. But he does have a pirate. What he doesn't want to do with the pirate is attack the warship. If I move into there, I look at the pirate rules, and I think I've got a 50-50 chance of getting a buck. Now, 1 in 6. But exploration doesn't really do me any good. So I roll. I get a 4. That doesn't generate anything. I would get the entire wealth of the pirate. If, you know, I would get that whole buck. Of course, I'm at negative money. Now we're to the guy who has saved all his money. And he's got to start looking to other people to say, well, I got nothing I can do. I'm not allowed to buy a pirate anymore because we're following the rules. Although we can see, you know, I'm not sure other people would have chosen pirates. We could have followed the same route. And you can see the pirate's not that effective a choice right now. With these warships showing up. They kind of chase it away. Which means to me, what can I do with my $5 or whatever? Unlike in an 18xx game or something, I can't just say, huh, he's only got 2 shares, I'll buy X number of shares and take control. These are privately owned companies with shares in them. And so long as the owner doesn't choose to let you buy more, you're not going to get more. So then there's, and you can't transfer pirate stuff. So then there's what? It's a good question. Is there anything out there I want? Now, I could start buying myself prestige in a port, but I'm not going to beat the players who already have 1 prestige. They're fixed. Yeah, I got all 3 ports. So the black and purple player has an interesting situation. He has a port. He has 2 warships. He doesn't have enough money to do anything. If I could get, and he has $2 left. Unfortunately, he's in the wrong order here. That $2 could have been used before. If I could sell bonds or some other resource like shares, something of value could come of it. So because I'm in a position where I'm in a place where I can make some money, this guy's going to try to make some kind of offer. 2 shares would say we get the same value. See, the idea here is, let's put $5 into here. That $5 would drop this to -9, but it's still not enough. He would still have to transfer $1 in. So let's say I bought 2 shares for $2 and you gave me 6 bonds for $3. That would allow him to start operating. He'd have enough money, he could buy more shares in the company, as it were. So it's a reasonable offer. And this is the strongest player. So on odds, I think he'll take it. He will not. What he might do is maybe make a counteroffer, like, well, you know, I'm not going to give you 6 bonds, but how about I give you 4 bonds for that $3 or whatever? Is that reasonable? That's going to be a little harder. I think he'll go on a 1. Yeah, he's going to do it. Okay, so for my $5, 2 of it is going to buy me 2 shares in that company, tying me with his holding. 3 of it is going to get me 4 bonds in the black company. Now, I don't remember what color you use for bonds. Let's take a look at how this is worded. Again, you know, this would be so much better with like little certificates, although the bonds, obviously, since they're kind of infinite, cannot work that way. So I was saying I would take 4 bonds for $3, which is not a great trade. I was leaving enough room to trade it to like 5 bonds for $3 as sort of an in-between, but he took it. Let me see how they're use the area of their own. Okay, so I use a 4 in red as well on the black company to indicate these are its own bonds. I've got 4 bonds here. $5 has been transferred over. Because of the order of play, he's going to have to pay the moneylenders before he can use that $5 to pay off his loan. I think. Maybe you can pay off moneylenders at any time. Families can pay for any entity. Oh, you can only take out 1 loan per turn. I'm hoping I didn't fuck that up. Well, you need a port to take out a loan. Just trying to make sure nobody has violated a rule here. I think everybody who took out a loan this turn had a port. You can. This is the first turn where all the ports are bought out. So this is the first turn where that has come in place. And this is where, you know, I don't know. A set of notes may not be that terrible, but it's like, it's almost impossible to remember all the rules. Like, you know, and I don't know how that's going to work out well. You know, I don't know that would work out terribly much better if the rules were better, you know, better organized. But certainly as a set of notes, without being intimate with them, it's going to be tough. So I think that's the extent of what he did. We go back here. No storms have been found. No factories have been built. We're on a new turn. I'm going to continue rolling the die for who goes first at the beginning of a turn, because that suits where I want to end any given period. So this goes to here. I'm going to need to swap batteries, but I'm going to try doing another turn here. A lot of the problem with trying to understand the rules and remember stuff is that there's no kind of, you do this, you do that. There is a sequence of play, but a lot of it is just the player's turn, which is just, you know, kind of free form, which means that you have to know a whole bunch of pieces of the rules all at once, rather than, think about an 18XX. Okay, first you lay your track, then you lay a token. Then, you've got this very specific sequence that you must always follow. And then every now and then, some of the games, add a feature like bonds or something like that, where it's like, yeah, anytime during your operating round you can do this, but it's only one thing. It's not a whole mixture of like 6 or 8 complicated sets of actions that you can all kind of do mush together. And I think that's kind of the problematic part. Let's look at tribute. Broke ports. All the ports are broke. Nobody's going to pay tribute for them. An attack can't do anything, so I'm not even going to roll a die. An attack can't even happen, is actually the thing. Natives moneylenders. All right. Here's the painful mechanical aspect. I do want to highlight them all. Keep a die out for them. Just mechanically, this is just so painful. Oh, I'm not going to have $2. I'm only going to have 1. Did I fuck up? I don't think so. I think I'm barely able to handle it. Red 3, black 4. Another buck for the moneylenders. In a way, the amount of money that the moneylenders collect doesn't really matter. Both 2s. Like, I think they're going to be so obscenely ahead. All right. 5 more bucks for the moneylenders. They're up to 17. Just look at them create money. At some point in the game, people presumably won't need money anymore. But by that point, this is going to be at some fixed value. And if people are combating one another, if they're creating a lot of competition and economies aren't working well, people will have to dive back into the moneylenders to make things work. So, if you're coming in last anyway, you might as well take a shot and throw more money in the moneylenders and make everybody else do worse. To the players. First player is white here. Still no company operating. No nothing really. I got $4. I got $4. Now, here's the annoying thing. Any agreement that I make with anyone else, I'm not going to use any kind of binding agreements or whatever, has to be done in their, they have to do their part in their turn. And that means I could cut a deal with someone and end up screwed because of it. And I could end up screwed without it being, an absolute I want to fuck you over, but rather someone else offers me a better deal. So there's a danger to cutting those kind of agreements where ordering matters. So like this guy has $4. Some kind of operation could be worked like it was there. But here's the thing. I don't have a port. So unless I get somebody with a port to agree to help me, it ain't going to work. But I might be able to work something out with the blue company who does have a port. Of course, they don't have a warship. And the yellow warships may screw that up. So I am going to pass because I don't think the situation is stable enough. The only thing I could help here is yellow. Now, yellow's got a problem because I can't build the black ships until I get the yellow ships out of the way, because otherwise they'll shoot them. As far as I can tell, you can only have one piece per space. I am not absolutely certain about that, but it's what it seems like. So that is icky. I really don't think he has something that he can afford to do. Of course, he's not losing money in the interim. He's still got his cash available, but other people are. And therefore, my ability to leverage something might go away. Over to here. Orange. Orange is working so happily. I have a ship. I have a port. I could build another ship here and take a 50-50 shot at knocking out a yellow port ship. Kind of afraid because, like, I'm holding the one harbor, but nothing can get in because I'm blockaded basically by my own ships. But, oh, and you know what I didn't do? I didn't load up any stuff and don't have money to load up colonists, but notably I didn't load up any trade goods. Just on a voyage of exploration, which is kind of not profitable. I'm going to attack that yellow ship. Because I don't see... This is horrible. I mean, I got a 50-50 chance of taking that. Then I can move. I can move my ship back and try to gather some trade goods. How do you mark trade goods? Oh, I don't know if this can produce trade goods. It doesn't have any cash. The port has to have wealth in order to create trade goods. Fuck. And I don't have money for colonists. I don't have an investment for colonists. I would have to get that from someone. I just feel like I'm screwed. Now, under combat, you're able to attack the same piece with 2 unused pieces. I don't know if I could use this as my supporting ship in an attack. Feels a little wrong, but I mean, you know, it's like a merchant ship. What the hell? What's it doing trying to help? You know, that feels wrong to me. I would be improving my main attack, which gives me a better dice, sort of. Oh, boy. Yeah, I kind of just don't think I can figure out a way to do anything without getting somebody to give me some money. Now, again, we don't have what's composed in a player's turn. So maybe during my player's turn, I can sell stuff to other people, which would open up other opportunities that I don't otherwise have. But right now, I just feel locked in, and I kind of don't want to move my ship because I have a chance of losing the only thing I have that's worth anything that I thought could make me some money, but it can't. Now, when I built it, I would have been able to grab cargo if I waited a turn, but I didn't. I moved out, and somebody else built a ship there. And a colonist costs money, right? Yeah, $10. The only thing that doesn't cost money is cargo. How do you fucking mark cargo? With a red number. Well, and nobody else is going to let me pick up cargo from them without paying something. So I'm kind of lost as to what the fuck I can do. Even though I'm the only person with an operating company right now, I don't think it can do much. If I'm going to lose money anyway, buy another share. I think I could buy 2, but for that buck. Might as well. Right? Let's check shares. I mean, it's shares of something worthless. And by getting rid of stocks, I'm making it so that I can't sell them to other people. Let's see. Okay, the share price, actually the share price is 2. Hold on. I think that's where I'm at. I don't fucking know. Oh, God. So, the share price, because I have a ship, goes up to 2, and I could sell for half their value. So yeah, I could sell 1 for 1. So that, you know, the money's going to evaporate no matter what, so it doesn't do me any good. At least I'm getting something. There's no one, you know, I don't know when I can sell bonds. Like, I don't know that I can sell bonds to other people at this point, or if I have to wait till their turn when they can do stuff. That's not defined in the game. Let's say that I could sell bonds to other people. It really wouldn't help me. The only thing that helps me right now, I think, is trying to destroy the Yellow Fleet. It's the only fucking thing I can think of. So, let's create more debt. I'll build a green ship and I'll send it in there, and we're going at even. Because I don't know whether or not support would count for this, but it feels like it's not really flanking in the same way. We lose, no captures possible, and now we have damaged port green so that it's useless. And we move the dice over here. And I am almost out of fucking battery. So let me swap again, but there's not going to be much charge. Where my old cameras did not eat up power. I believe this one does. It's supposedly the same model, but you know, it's fancier in some ways already. And then I have one that's supposedly the same model, but doesn't even use the same batteries. And I can't get it to work. And I spent, I don't know, $100 on it or whatever, and it just doesn't work. Or it doesn't work for me. I may have gotten it working at one point, but now I can't. So now we're over on this guy, and somebody bailed this guy out heavily. I don't know what happened here, but he was supposed to spend $4. I think I just didn't get there. He was supposed to spend $4 over here, which brings that up to 20. That brings this down to -9. -9 is important because now I can take out a loan. Now I am port yellow, for whatever that's worth. I can take out a loan. Sorry, which brings me to 24. And now I'm over 10, so I can't take out a loan again. And buy myself a ship. I'll put that here. I'll put it here. I haven't deployed it yet. Because I need to sail this ship somewhere. I'll sail it to here, next to this pirate, keep chasing it, and blockade another port. That'll allow me to place this. This time I will grab some trade goods on the off chance that I find a village I can trade with, which is what which is what the other merchants did not do, right? And didn't I need to spend here? I think I did. Before I buy that ship, I transfer this to grab myself 2 more shares, which gets me some cash. And I guess that's it. It feels like nothing's happening. You know, it feels like no one's getting anywhere. And maybe like roads and boats. Like I said, this kind of reminds me of it in some ways. Maybe like that. You really have to like piece everything together and figure it all out really carefully. And again, it would help if the ports were spread out more, but the setup actually favors them to be clustered. Okay. We go to this guy. He's got a pirate ship. Uh-oh. Run, run, run. And of course, I'm almost assuredly safe because I've got a space on him. There's almost no way that the yellow ship can catch me. I think there is no way. So 1 in 6. Hey, I gain a buck. I'm going to lose it next turn. But and the reason I gain is I have 100% of my company. I feel like I'm not losing money for 1 turn. Great. But I'm going to have to send my pirate exploring, which will probably get it killed, and then I'll be out of the game. Pretty much like most of the players are. This guy. Well, I don't have a lot, but I got one thing I can do. Because that guy bought more shares, I'm going to sell a bond back and steal my buck back. So I've lost $4 on the black company, but if it succeeds, I have a couple shares, which is worth something, and I get 3 of that 4 back. Okay. But I think I've helped him tremendously in comparison. Okay, and we're looking at, he's the yellow port. Oh, that has no money. That's not going to be able to produce goods either. The red port's not going to be able to produce goods. Yeah, nobody can make money in this game anymore. The only thing that can make money are pirates. Neat. Okay. Well, since we know that, maybe somebody will find us a village and we can build pirates. We're over to the blue player. Oh, good Lord. I got the red port. That's got no money, but I can destroy the black ship, and that's probably the best I can do. Make sure no one can make money. Make sure everybody loses more than they gain. Yeah, that looks like the best I can do. So this goes back down to 19. And I'm at -15. And I build a red ship. And we're going to attack this. Of course, we're in danger of being attacked by those yellow ships, but we really don't care. We just want to bring everybody down to our level, because we're so hosed. We see no option for anything. And we destroy it. We would have captured it if it wasn't a placement turn. So there goes that. And I'm really of the opinion that this game is just not working. Maybe I'm missing something, but it doesn't feel like there's a capacity to make money in it. It feels like, and maybe it's because I'm dicky. Maybe everybody could be really pleasant and kind to each other. Maybe if you're playing with 3 or less players or something, it would work out a little better. I don't think this pirate has had that big an effect in terms of wrecking everyone, but it really does feel like everyone's in a position where the only thing they can do is wreck other people. And it feels that way almost right from the beginning. You know, you got 6 players, there's only 5 companies. Well, the 6th player is going to want to wreck somebody, you know, right? At least that's my view of it. And we roll to see who goes and it'll be here. I'm going to move all the dice here. Yeah. I don't even know if this fucking moved because it's got nothing it can do that can make it money. Well, now wait a minute. If I found a village, I could trade with the village, get trade goods from the village and haul them back. Because the ports are all wrecked, but the village is not. So this is the one player who has something that can actually make money. Can it make enough to make up for the loans? Probably not. It certainly can't make enough to deal with the disaster that sort of the main area, the main ports has become in terms of like violent warships preventing any kind of trade from happening. But I honestly don't think it's that odd for players to seek to knock other people out right away. In some games, it's odder than others, but in economic competition, I feel like it's so cutthroat in concept that, like, yeah. So now the question then becomes, is there something like in, say, Lords of Sierra Madre or something, where I can offer a fair amount of money? But here's the problem. These boats, so I don't have a means of getting to the port and cutting, I don't have a way to cut the deal without like them exposing their port for me to trade at, or my port for me to trade at, as it were. So that's kind of the problem. Now, I do have a possible opening. I could sail here or make an attack here and try to gain that space to slip my way through, which maybe works out. But we're almost out of battery, and I'll come back and see. But I think the chances of there being a successful start to this game, where people are actually able to play it how I think it's intended to be played, which is the companies start making money and then you start investing and fighting each other, I don't think that there's room for that. I think that it's just too likely, especially with the companies, with the ports this close together, and more than three or four players, for the companies to be able to operate as a viable means. It's too easy, and especially if you go over the number of companies, because as soon as you go over the number of companies, they appear to be the money-making engines, and I got to kill those other companies, and as soon as somebody's company is killed, then they've got to kill somebody else's company. So if there were less companies, if there were less players and still 5 companies out there, say 5 players, 5 companies, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now somebody's at a disadvantage and they can take a 50-50 shot of taking the space. Oh, you know what I don't know? If you place a ship and it does not win, but it doesn't lose, I'm not sure what happens. You're in a position where both ships have to be in that same space. I guess you could roll again, but again, that doesn't seem to be specified. What I came down for was to point out, even if everything was working smoothly and you could run the companies efficiently from the start, you might see people who see a slight advantage to making an aggressive move that wipes somebody out of the game. Just take it. Here's an example. In Magic Realm, a game that feels like you're going to go out and try to discover cool stuff and all this kind of exploration and hunting treasure and killing monsters to get glory and everything. Well, we had one guy in our group, and he's a guy who had a way of breaking games, but he took the elf in Magic Realm, got a jump where he was able to move out of his initial space, go into hiding, and then use the ambush capability to just like kill a player right away. Now you can restart, but the whole big deal there was he was able to gather up the stuff that player had. and then he set himself up to do it again and basically like put a blockade. Now, the particular trails were bad, or were in part perhaps designed by him for this, but were set up so that it was really hard to get out of the starting location that everybody's at, the inn or the tavern or whatever. So he could pretty much guarantee that he would schwack one player, and he waited for the last guy, to travel that way to do the ambush, and then every character that player brought in, he could keep killing and taking all their stuff. And it was just like, it was this brilliant way of like just destroying the game for at least one person. Into the next stage of this, and I went through the mechanical aspects. There's no tribute, and the mainland power can't attack anything. All the ports are broke. Moneylenders mechanically took their cash, just $1 from each person who could pay, up to 22. Let me just make sure. Nobody has any money. This guy could drop down to -9. That would let him. That would let him take out a bigger loan. That might be a good idea, but I'm going to let him do it during his turn. It's not the normal phase of things, but I think I need that kind of flexibility to make certain decisions. So we're on the player's phase. Orange, the one person who has a working and functioning, I think the only one, because Black lost their ship and are broke again, even though somebody else invested and is going down with them too. So, yeah. Orange has the green port, no capacity for cash. I think the only thing I can do of any value is I have to clear some space and try to make room to be able to get into my port. So I'm going to attack that yellow ship. I end up getting double. This is a big deal. This is how you win this game. Now I have 2 green ships. Still no space, but that's okay. I'll move my ship here, and this has already done its action, but next turn it can explore. And now something's happening. Oh wait, no, I don't want to do that, because I want to do the attack, that's fine. But I don't want to move back, because I don't have any goods on board, and I can't get any from my broken port. So we're going to have to go on Discovery, which has as good a chance of killing me as finding anything. Right? I mean, on a 1 I find a storm, and that kills my ship. On a 0 I find a land tile, and that's great. So I'll go this way, I guess. I get a 9 that explores more water. Luckily, I don't have to feed my people. I've got like a 50-50 chance of this company making it, essentially. It's whether a storm comes up or something else. And that's better than anyone else has, because I might, especially now that I've captured a boat situation. So we'll move over to here. Now this is the yellow port. The yellow port's been sealed off from his port. He has no cash. He too is going to go just for a shot at that red ship, because, maybe I can do something with my ships. Instead I lose. And we get rid of the yellow ship. And this guy's pretty much out of the game at this point. That's okay, everybody else is too. We go to this guy. He has the capacity to generate money. He also has a pirate ship. Because he's player 4. He's over here. We will try to make that. On a 1, we get a buck. Yeah, of course, that buck doesn't do me any good. That's okay. No, because we're going to just end up with negative money. I could generate 10 bucks more if I had somewhere to invest it. But I don't feel like there's anywhere worth investing anymore. This guy, yeah, you know, I blew my money. If I end up positive 1 buck, I may end up winning the game. So I'm just going to sit there. And we go to blue. Blue is screwed. Really nothing I can do. I don't have enough cash to do anything here. One thing I could do is buy more shares of my blue company. I don't see any value to that. And we're just going to pass. I mean, there's nothing to do in the game anymore. Likewise, white. I got a pile of money with white. But I have nowhere I'm allowed to build a boat without paying someone to build it. Now, who's got the red port? He does. How much money would it take? Well, it really doesn't matter. Because he's hopeless, you know? So I don't think I can convince anyone. I certainly can't convince this guy, the one person who's doing okay, to let me build a boat. And also, the only place I could build a boat right now is in the red port, which would be at risk. So we too will pass. I just think this game is intrinsically going to work into pathological situations, but I don't know. Okay, let's try another round. That's going to put the start over here, and I'll do the mechanical stuff. Economy continuing to slow down with nobody able to pay off their loans. The moneylenders are kind of hitting their probably what's going to be their max, which is about what the mainland power has. And honestly, I don't think I did much of anything before. So yeah, he's still not going to do anything. I see no real options available. Over here, we're really in the same position, which puts us to orange. Orange takes their 1 in 10 shot. I'll go up into this one. More water. Just looking for some place. I'm going to need to open something up, so I'm going to try to explore this space as well. And I find water, which is, you know, not only expected, but what I kind of hoped for. Because I'm getting myself in a position where maybe I can do a flanking attack there and take out the remaining boat. So that, you know, this one player is the only one who has a chance. But they may not succeed because they're so far in debt that even once this becomes a solo game, they may not have any chance whatsoever. No options. Pirate ship. Next turn, I'll be at negative $9, you know, and then I'll be stabilized there. I could have done this at any point. I don't see any reason not to, you know, I don't see any reason to create money, to try to create a boat or anything at this point. I don't gain anything, and we'll be around to the next time around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you know what? I fucked up. This wasn't player 4, this is player 5. Pretty sure I got that right, that I didn't manage to buy a pirate here, as well, because this guy has so much debt. He must have done something with that money. So I had the wrong number counter on. And yeah, I'll go through the mechanical stuff. In terms of play, nobody's got anything they want to do. Let's find the red port. The red port guy is a little worried here. I'm going to move here, start threatening that pirate ship instead. So I've been cleared out of the yellow port now, which probably isn't a great thing. It certainly doesn't do anything. Nobody's going to invest money into something that has a pretty good chance of being sunk. But if I can kill the pirate, maybe I can end up ahead of him or something. I don't know. It didn't generate any money, and that gets me to orange. Orange will continue their exploration rolls. They need a 1 or a 0 for anything to happen of excitement. Nothing exciting happens here. I kind of want to gain leverage and keep pushing, so I will explore again and find some more water. And I'll move here. It may be that the red ship needs to attack the green one in a hopes, because at least it's fighting an even of, evening up the score. And then we're back here, and I guess nothing happens, and we roll a die. And, again, I think I could see situations where maybe with less players or whatever, you would get a chance that there would be multiple people with a chance of creating a successful company. But I think the likelihood is that the game will devolve into a situation where people are in really bad shape. So that's 4 that ends up back here, and we go again. Traders are indeed at the end of their rope. Nobody has any cash to pay them any longer. I mean, there are people who do. He's got money. He could turn it around into something, but who's going to let him? And at what cost? And at what risk? There's these navies floating out here. I have nothing to protect my navy. Now, if I worked with the Greenport guy, but he's like, hey, I don't see any reason to help you. I've got a company here. Like, he might work out a deal of, okay, I'll let you fund your company somehow, although you can't get it below the -10, so that's not going to work. So there's really nothing he could buy. He could buy a pirate, but you could allow someone to do something as part of the deal. Hey, you fund my company enough that I'll be able to build another boat, on credit again, on that 50-50 chance that I eventually find anything. But I don't see anybody who's in a position to agree to that. And certainly, while I still have a ship out there, that's not going to happen. The red ship, I'm going to take my shot at trying to capture this. I think it's the best thing I can do. Maybe I can turn things around. I don't know. I don't see any opportunities right now, but I might be able to work out an opportunity with one of the players who has like $1. This guy has $4. That might allow him to... it's not going to float this company out, but it might allow something. So the big die attacks. We have a capture again. Awesome. And that's all we can do. But that changes the nature of the game for the orange company. We'll skip white. He's not doing anything. Orange is going to have to backtrack to here. But I'm still protecting my backline, but the red can kind of get me in a lot of trouble. And I'll try searching for this. I might be better off attacking. Let's do the search first and see what happens, because we find some more water. Yeah, I think I'm going to attack again. Simply because, yeah, if I hold this, he can set things up so he gets a bonus on me. And right now, we just want to see if we can swing the boat back. We cannot. We both get tied. I didn't get to move into place. That means red is going to be able, to kind of threaten me for free, and that's not good. But I'll get one more attack to try to fix that situation. And let's see where the first play goes. It's going to go over here, which changes the nature of things, right? Because now red does not go before orange. That matters. So this guy could actually invest in orange, but, why should orange allow him to? Orange is the only one who has a possible income here. He gets to go first. Let's do a search first, see what we find. We get a 1. That's the fun one. We found a storm. So the orange ship is dead now, too. And a storm goes there. I gotta see if anything else is generated with that storm. That's here, I believe. And now the storm will start going around and causing problems as well, which could actually, no, it's not going to cause any good for the ports. It could cause if there were villages available, or it could generate some. So now, what does the storm do? Place a water tile in a storm, and then the watercraft will be destroyed if they're unused storm pieces. If there are none otherwise, it's safe to explore. Okay. So nothing exciting happens there, but we get the storm movement, which we had back in the rawr side of things. But that means orange has nothing. I'm going to attack that boat, because screw it, man. I got nothing better I can do. I got no money. Yes, I could maybe convince somebody to buy in now, but we get 2 4s, we get nothing. Puts me here. He's still not doing anything. He has no money, so that puts me to the pirate. The pirate will go exploring. We'll go exploring out here. And we find an empty water space, which is cool because those could conceivably reduce my debt eventually, but not today. And now we're back to red. Red is going to move themselves into this position. This will give them flanking attack, which allows me to roll a d10 instead of a d6, so I have a much better chance of success. But honestly, that green ship is going to attack first and maybe swing things around. And we're on another turn, which will start over here. Before we go to another turn, we're on storm movement, which we find. We roll a die to see which direction it goes in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here. And I believe it finds a whole bunch of sea spaces, if I'm not mistaken. What did I just... I don't know what happened. Roll a d6 to see which way it goes. If the direction of movement would take it off this playing area, not quite. The playing area is everything south of this line that fits on the table. If it goes into an empty land tile that's not adjacent to... No. If it goes to a land tile, no. If it moves to an undiscover, we roll the 10-sider, which I don't think I did. Okay, we found a water. And that's it. I thought it had a chance of finding, maybe under some of the other results, it can find more spaces. Yes, things are getting unwieldy, but in terms of pieces getting jiggled around, but that's okay. I don't think I can fix it up if need be later. So yeah, we figured out who goes next. Nothing special happens anymore. There's no mechanical aspects to the game. Hey, that means red gets to go first this time. So red is going to make an attack with support, so they get to use the 10-sided die. They get a tie, which means nothing good happens, nothing bad either. We're going to see how this all shakes out. So orange is going to make an attack on the red ship in order to, I might be more powerful to take this one because then I could corner this thing. Yeah, I'm going to go for that other one instead. It looks less valuable, but it's not like I have money or anything I can do. However, I lose. So now we're down to just a red ship. Just red ships, and nobody has any money. Eventually we come back around to the pirate, and the pirate is like, well, eventually, maybe. Nope. Okay. Like, if I get 9 6s, I'm up to 0. I could actually, start cranking a useful value there. So, storm movement. And what are we playing and why? I don't know. Okay. What happens if we enter a sea tile? Nothing, I think. Okay. We're going to roll for who goes first on the next turn, and then I got to think. All right. So the red port guy will be going first. I'm going to give some thought to the game, see if there's anything anyone can do or wants to do as a deal. It feels pretty iffy. Otherwise, what we're really looking at is, well, maybe these ships will hunt down the pirate. Not sure what they can do if they succeed in taking it. But at least they can prevent someone from doing better. What I do have is I have a red port and a company. If I could convince some other player to invest in my company, maybe as many shares as I have, so they get as much as I do out of it. Is there anybody with that kind of cash around? He has $4. It's not quite enough, though. I need 5, and I don't have any cash. I would need to convince somebody like this to throw money in. And, hey, I've got $1. Nobody else has that much. I'm winning the game right now as far, behind these two. But this family is winning the game by not having lost all its money. And I really don't think that they're willing to, turn that around by floating someone who might be able to do okay. Actually, he's not winning. This guy is. He's got the $4. But he's the person who's like, well, yeah, for $4, if you sold me 2 shares, and maybe a bond or something, because you'd still have control, would that be fair? And you'd have the port that you could, leverage to get yourself some bonuses out of. Maybe I could get enough money together to start the white company. But yeah, this guy's like, well, why do I want to help that? The only way I'm willing to do that is if I get as much as he gets, basically, whatever that is. And for both of us, that has to be at least presumably better than what blue has. So, I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think we're at an impasse. I don't think anything can happen any further in the game. The storm can hit and sink ships. The pirate ship might get lucky, but the red ships are going to kill it off. I'm going to call this a game at this point. I think this is all there is. What can be done to fix this, to make it so it works? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Am I missing something that's intended? Again, I don't know. I think the only thing that I may be missing is players who are willing to not screw each other over. And that seems highly unlikely. There, it just doesn't feel like a cooperative endeavor to me in the way that, like, I don't know, so if you think of something like Lords of Sierra Madre, I have to bid on a thing, right? And I bid on it. So it has a market value that's determined by the other players. And then other people have to bid on other things to make my thing work. So there's almost a baked-in collaboration in that. Here, it feels like you can go it alone. The risks of going it alone are very high. Would a collaboration between a couple of players improve their chances? Yeah, maybe. And but getting into that mindset feels really, really difficult to me. So I don't know. Like, you kind of have to. So for collaboration to work, it kind of has to be the case that, like, somebody is able. People are able to make it on their own. And then what you see is that, yeah, but if we worked together, we could make it better. And here it doesn't feel like somebody can make it on their own, right? It feels like, or it feels like there's a low chance that anyone can make it on their own, but that somebody will take that chance and other people will try to prevent them and try to gain their own advantage and whatever. Again, maybe I'm missing some key component or some key idea behind this. Just not seeing it. If there was more space between the ports, but I don't think that this would terribly help the situation. I think that's still crowded enough. Certainly the pirate did some damage. There's no question about that, but I don't think it did enough damage, right? And you're allowed to start a company, only one company per turn, but you are allowed to take over a port at the same time, which might have been a better start, but I think that just crowds up and centralizes things under one player. People are saying, I will go this alone. And then it becomes that same sort of, hey, okay, I'll take a shot at knocking you out. Maybe I get lucky. Maybe I get to stay or whatever. Another issue that I just don't know. Yeah, I don't see much hope for a game that, like, people will succeed in under the rules as they are. And I'm trying to think, well, what would work? Well, a lot more mechanism, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to go out and find me some villages and start trading with them and everything. But I feel like without this sort of ultra competitive start, it's going to be kind of boring. Like, part of what's exciting about this. Now, part of the problem is that ultra competitive start isn't just, hey, did you manage to get your ship built? Did you manage to do it without losing your ship? Did you manage to get a ship out there and exploring? But even when somebody did and had all the advantages in their hands for a short period of time, they're still looking at a best a 50-50 chance of succeeding once they get that ship out there. Feels like there's way too much capacity for combat. I really don't like the idea of, hey, I've got a merchant in the port. Well, I'm going to build a merchant in the port too. And one of us is going to sink at least, maybe both. I'm not sure, because the rules on what happens with a tie when you build a ship are not at all explicit from what I saw. Or I'm not going to build a ship. I'm going to build me a warship first and try to project some threat or whatever. And people who do, if somebody does build a port, their defense of the port almost precludes someone from putting a merchant ship out. You know, you're going to have to bribe them to move their ship or something, and the revenues are just too short. They're too small for that to happen, and everything's wiped out. I mean, everything is fucking broken this game. The only things that are not are the two non-player entities, which, hey, the mainland country wins with 28, and you know the money lenders are at 26. And everybody else is just, you know, the players are all screwed, and all their entities, they've managed to bankrupt in trying to make them viable. I'm very worried with the simplicity of sort of the deal making and whatever that's in here. If you did make it easy, that it would be a dull game. The exciting part is kind of the, hey, do you manage to survive at all? I'm not willing to take a lot more cracks at trying to survive in it, but certainly if you were playing with less players, 2 or 3 players, it might work. I can't see it working in 5 or 6, and certainly not 9, which it supposedly supports. Although there you'd have to collaborate, right? Like so if you have 9 people with 5 companies in the game, you'd almost have to, if you're one of those later players, you'd almost have to collaborate. And your hope is what? One of the players who survives, you're going to come in second to them or something because they're going to take more money than you do because they started the company and cut you a deal, and you're getting, you know, your shares at a worse profit or something. And, you know, they may cut the difference with bonds. Sure, you know, make that be the difference. But that extra money probably isn't going to help you. The only way it helps you is if they go bankrupt, right? And then you might as well just sit there with your $5 in your treasury and hope everybody goes bankrupt instead of playing. Which is a viable strategy in Conquistador, by the way. The old SPI and later Avalon Hill game, you could just sit on your money, but you get an income every turn, and that's sort of the difference. There's like, here you're, you know, some kind of investor who has cash, but doesn't have any kind of income, and the income you can expect from investing in the game is probably negative for a long time. You know, even if I had succeeded, it would take forever to pay back these damn loans. Of course, if I did succeed, right, if it was down to, let me swap batteries, the point where it looked like the Orange Company Green Port had a 50-50 chance of success. Why? Well, they had the advantage in ships, so they should have been able to win the naval engagement. There were reasons why they weren't able to, some of it being the exploration thing. And then what it comes down to is does your ship find, you know, a storm or land first. If I find land first instead of that storm, and am able to, say, have 2 green ships here, right? Because port green, instead of 2 red ships, having wiped out the red port, I would basically be immune because my ships would be sufficient to keep off that pirate, which shouldn't even be there. No one else is capable of doing anything without collaborating heavily, and they might not be able to do anything anyway. Like what we saw, there's $5 available. $5. That's enough to float, you know, one person, one company, to try to resurrect one company for that 50-50 chance. But so assuming that I was basically alone then, with just my warships holding that pirate at bay and my ship able to do things, I could pick up goods from the village, if I found a village eventually, haul them back here. I wouldn't have to, it's my port, so I don't have to charge any fees if I don't want to. But essentially, all the money would go into my entities, into my port, into my company. I really wouldn't want to put money in the port. Like, I don't see a value to that, except that if I could get wealth in the port, then I could deliver stuff in the other direction too. But there's basically no hazards if I stay away from the storm, because it only moves one space each turn. It's not like Bermuda Triangle, man. I could skirt the storm, wait for it to get out of my way or whatever. I have infinite time because nobody else can play, and deliver goods from the village constantly or consistently, and drop the money into the Orange Company to the extent that then I could start building stuff up. And I would start paying dividends on that. Nobody else has shares of it, etc. So there is a path forward. It's just incredibly hard to do. And I feel like the amount of sort of competitive spirit, if you want to call it, that I bring, that I brought to the game, made it so that collaboration wasn't really possible. And with that being the case, and I don't think it should be. Like, I think about a game of 18xx. You don't want to cut deals where you're getting the worst end of the deal, right? It has to be something where both sides think they're getting about the same. And it's really hard. So look at this situation. Blue owns the company, owns the ships that can protect the port. They own the company, they own the port, but they have no cash. There's two players with cash. They might have been able to come up with a deal if there was one player with enough cash to fund that deal, right? If this loan was a little bit less, they might have been able to come up with a deal where they basically profit share, the same way that this guy ended up with a couple shares of black and some bonds. And if they did that, that would work fine. But the fact that there wasn't enough money between the two of them to make a profit sharing, and there's somebody with $1 who's like, yeah, well, I want as much of a chance as you guys have. It sucks that, like, that I don't have much money, but why don't you guys let me in, as an equal investor with my $1, because you can't do it without me, right? That's the kind of stance that I would take in a game like this, right? Because the situation is such that no one else can win, right? No one else can get a viable situation. And I feel like my situation isn't that bad. It's, it's kind of like hey, three of us are lost on an island, on a desert island. Two of us have a reasonable amount of food and tools and whatnot, and one of us does not have very much at all. But, I'm not going to throw in my effort and my help so that we all, so that two of you survive, right? I'm not going to agree that you're going to get to eat my leg, because it's all I have to offer while you guys build up energy to do things, right? Instead, what I'm going to say is, well, you pull your stuff together, I can help with some task, but we all get equal food and everything. Very communist in ideal, but when you hold the final key to the power, and nobody can go forward without it. And you can see the reason why these guys would not accept that. I mean, no, no, we're ahead of you already. Screw it. It's a game. We're not looking at, do we survive or not? I'm looking at, I have $4. I'm ahead of everybody else. Yes, I own a share, one share of a company that's, in debt, but that's not my problem. It may not be a valuable asset is the worst that it comes to. The only exception to that is this guy. Conceivably, he could end up generating money. Generating enough money to do something. Now, here's another problem with it. There are players with worthless assets that someone could turn around. Like, let's say this guy goes up pirating and ends up with $20 in his pocket because, he's able to stay away from these ships and generate lots and lots of stuff. The limited number of companies and ports means he can never get a legitimate thing. And since his pirate ship's weaker than these things, and these are the only ones out there, he's not going to want to fight them, So he's not going to increase the size of his pirate fleet for whatever value that would be. It would give him more die rolls, right? And yeah, so he's, no matter how wealthy he gets, nobody's going to allow him to sell, nobody's going to really give him an asset that can make money without a lot of deal making going on. In particular, let's look at this guy. This guy has one company. It's his only fucking asset. He has one share of one company. There's no way he's giving that up. Some of the other players might have a deal that they could make. Essentially, it would have to be a deal that makes that if you have two assets, and here's the most perfect one, the purple and black company, right? He might be able to make a deal where this guy has enough money to float both of these companies into doing something impressive. And then works out some way of getting the money into both of them, maybe getting control of the purple company because he has less shares, and getting a couple of shares of that company, and maybe some bonds and whatnot, to make it so that this guy has a reasonable chance, and of matching the guy who's got a pile of money. That's about the only thing that I could see happening here. I don't want to play it out that far. And then when it comes down to it, then we finally get into the game where like two people are kind of competing for the same thing. But not really, because this guy's got a fucking port. Eventually he's going to be able to transfer his money into that port in such a way that he can put fleets out there. Now, once players have companies, they'll start dealing with the other ports though. And those might start being able to create money. But what the fuck, man? Who cares? If I got 20 bucks on here, right? All right, I put 20 bucks. Well, yeah, because it's me. I put that 20 bucks and I buy a port from someone else. And now I buy the next port. Now I buy the next port. So this guy would get all three ports before he starts making any deals. Right? That's the way it would have to go. It is the way it would have to go. And yeah, and the fact that there's anyway, up it goes. I'm not going to do a review because I just don't think there's I don't see a workable game as it's written. I think players like me will ruin this. Whatever may have worked before, somebody like me will totally destroy it. And will probably convince other people to see it the same way. That's the way I've kind of seen it, is when somebody shows a dominant strategy like that and takes advantage of it, something which degrades everybody else's capacity to play, they either just don't like the game and give up on it, or they play with that strategy instead. And I think this would devolve into that. Is there anything that could be done to fix it? There might be something to twist it a little bit more land to begin with, and spread out the initial things. The initial ports might help a little bit. Some kind of bankruptcy provision, in the sense that so there's no valid reason why there's only 5 companies or only 8 pirates or something like that. Why is that a limited resource? I see why there's only 3 ports, but it's really hard to convince me that players shouldn't be able to create more companies. The problem with that, of course, is that you can leverage companies to do twisted shit, and you don't really want an infinite supply of them out there. And I understand there's this idea of, well, I want to have shares in a company, and the player itself is something separate. Yeah, but if the companies are likely to go belly up so easily, it probably makes more sense and some of the XX games do this, it makes more sense to make that resource available again. And if you look at games like, again, I'm going to keep bringing up Sierra Madre, if a resource is unvaluable to someone but would be valuable to someone else, there are ways to get control of it by putting money. But here's the thing: you need to have positive cash flows be likely. It's one thing if somebody bankrupts themselves, say running a copper mine, not a copper mine, a copper smelter or something like that. They throw too much money in, now they're in debt to the bank and whatever. Somebody else can bail them out with enough money that they have a fresh start, at the least. Here, the only plausible positive income rate right now at the end of this game is the pirate. And that's going to be slow as fucking hell if it's going to happen. And also, I think there are significant limitations on deals. If I can find the rules on that. Like, so entities can't give each other cash. So there's no like, hey, this is worth so much. You have to use the mechanisms of the game, and they have significant limitations, like like with the bonds between 0.5 and 1. 1 is I'm giving you a free loan. 0.5 is you're paying simple interest. No, you pay back 100% of the loan. And anything in between there can be kind of done, but there's no like, and that kind of negotiation capability may or may not fix this, but it works fine in Sierra Madre because it's like two players can come to an agreement what a resource is worth to exchange, right? Well, this is going to make me $10 over the next 3 turns. So how about I give you $5 for it? Because right now it's not making you anything. And then the other person could say, yeah, but the game's going to go longer than 3 turns, and then I say, well, yeah, but I can invest my $5 somewhere else and make money too. So, I'm trying to make this so that I get a benefit over what opportunities I have available, and you get a benefit over what opportunities you have available. And that kind of free exchange works there. I don't know if it would here, but there are definitely so many limitations on how you can manipulate the objects in the game. And again, the rules as this set of notes essentially, rather than something that kind of gives you an idea of how you should be playing the game, makes it harder to remember what all those little mechanisms are. So being able to manipulate them is more difficult. Like maybe there's something I'm missing that the notes style of the rules means that I'm just not seeing what the game's about. Quite possible. All right, let's end this up. Try this again. One of the big things that comes to mind as a fix while I was loading this up, I started thinking about this, is you have to invest a humongous amount of effort essentially into getting a company running, right? You have to put at least $1 in. You only have 5, right? You're going to want to use you may want to use more than one for various reasons, but you have to buy your shares. Then you disallow any other shares. So there's no chance you're going to lose it to anyone without you agreeing to lose it, unlike in an XX game or something, which makes sense, again, with the type of private partnership that we're looking at. But you take, let's say you put $1 in, you take everything that you can on a loan, and that lets you get 1 ship. And that's it. You got $1 in here, so you got 14 here, you got 4 here. You don't have a second chance. Not without someone throwing some cash at you. You get one shot, and that one shot, this is if you're going it alone, has a 50-50 chance of success at best, of getting you to a trading village. Is that your only thing that you can do to gain income in the long run? No, you can throw some cash into a port. Maybe you can invest in other things to help someone else. Maybe you can work out deals, whatever. There are other uses for your other $4 or whatever that you withhold. But you're going to win or lose, I think, off of whether you control and own a company and make the money. There's nothing else that makes that kind of money. It is the driving force. It's like, again, looking at Lords of Sierra Madre, it's like the mines, right? If nobody buys the mines, the smelter's not going to run, and the railroads aren't going to run, and stuff like that. If nobody gets a company working, the ports aren't going to make money. The pirates aren't going to be able to steal. You have to have that initial valuation make some kind of money, and it's got no guarantees in this game, none whatsoever. The mines in Sierra Madre, the lumber companies, stuff like that, they all will guarantee some amount of cash coming through them that, unless somebody throws the equivalent to pirates, the banditos and whatever. So the fact that the thing that is going to drive the economy has at best a 50-50 chance of success, I think is too limited. It's too low. And I'm not sure what is left. Like, it feels like maybe there should be something out there. Some way of improving that. Now, you could improve it with the odds of discovery and whatever, and I'm not sure that that's really what you want. I feel like what you want is the ability to say, okay, my company failed, I want to start a new one with another $1. I think that might be the solution, not have this 5-company limit. That, if all the companies are used up, you have the right to trash a company in order to start a new one. That might be enough to make the game a little bit more viable. Again, it's not going to prevent this kind of destructive attitude, but a little bit of spacing out and this capacity to re-energize, to start over, right? Not to have your entire... because every player is taking that little slice of a chance and facing the destructiveness and whatever, and it's just too hard. But again, that's kind of the view that I had with Harsh Rails, which was Crayon Rails, where you were expected to fail a couple of times before you succeed. I would actually suggest that might work for this. Something where you can fail and start over in reasonable shape. Of course, maybe the game is all about those opening few moves. Maybe it's all about this immediate competition. Maybe, the majority of the rules that have to do with trading and everything are really just there on the off chance that 2 people manage to survive the early part of the game. I don't know. And I can't tell you whether that would work out to be an okay game if you added that version. Because, again, you would end up behind the 8 ball if you're starting late, essentially. Think about... There's a few games that allow this kind of thing. Think about the idea that, okay, well, I failed and I restart, but somebody else got the jump on me and was able to get a working solution going. Am I in fair position? Well, at least I'm not in the position of going to them hat in hand and saying, hey, I'd like an equal chance to you, or at least close to equal. I'd like some kind of decent deal. There aren't a lot of decent deals to be found that make sense to both players, right? It has to be a bailout situation like this, and I don't see those happening very often. They might happen more often in a lot of players where somebody's holding a pile of cash and they're in the strong position and say, well, I'll make you the minor partner in the company you started. Which, maybe this guy should have done. Maybe he should have done that. But it didn't matter because it wasn't going to work. All right. Anyway, up for real this time.